Good morning. This is Lola. I'm Lola Rist from lolarist.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And let me get Facebook up here and we'll get going. Well, I'm not going to go. Just a second. Okay, so I did a technique class last week. It was one of our monthly classes that I do. And I had done 2 techniques and I had several people request about how to do those. So I said I would demonstrate those today. Morning, Tina. How are you today? Our baby girl there with you? Okay, there's the video. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Hi, Jonna. Nice to have you with us. Jonna, you're an expert at this already. You know these techniques. But anyhow, this was a good way to, I didn't have time yesterday to get everything else finished up with the retreat for those that are virtual. I had to do that and had to clean up. And quite honestly, I was worn out. So this is a good way to fill in with the techniques that people wanted to see. So anyhow, hi, Oakland. Hey, sweet girl. All right, so here we go. We're going to turn this around. And then we're going to move it forward. So hang with me. You might get dizzy through this whole thing. All right. So let me get this moved out of the way. And we've got some light on this. And we are ready to go. So I had done these 2 cards at the technique class last week, and several of you have asked how to do specifically the whitewash. You wanted to know how to do these. They are great techniques. They really are, Jonna. They're fun. They're easy. Just adds a little more variety to your stamping and your card making. So I'm going to start. First, we're going to do this one, but only a little bit. I'm going to let it dry while I then go over to this card, but we're going to get the embossing done. I probably will not even completely finish my card, but just more focus on the technique itself. So we're going to start with a piece of vellum. My vellum has to be large enough to fit inside of a shape. I chose to use a circle. You could use the rectangles. You could do a scallop, one of those scallop contours, something like that. I was just wanting this one section because I wanted my label down here to be written with the greeting. So I just literally chose a circle, the biggest circle I had. Okay, and I'm going to take a piece of vellum that is just big enough to cover that. I'm going to go on ahead and use Versamark, and gosh, I haven't even had a chance to sit down and look to make sure I had everything here. So let's pray that I have it all together. So we're going to use Versamark, and I chose the hand-pinned stamp set. I'm going to go on ahead and just make sure that this is in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure that I have some vellum on either side so that I have something to tape, and I don't know that I did. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I'm good. So if you can't see it, it's there, but it's kind of tricky. Oh, you can see it with when I move that. I can see it. So I'm going to turn around and put it in here. I'm done with the vellum. I'm just going to take some white embossing powder and sprinkle that in here. Oakland, I think you need to get in your Nana's or your Grammy. I think it's maybe Grammy. I think you need to get in Grammy's embossing powder and play. Don't you, Auntie? Don't you think so, Grammy? That would be a mess. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Okay, so here we go. We're going to heat it. I think it was Tanya that, oh, yeah, you're funny. Okay, so Oakland was in her Grammys things last week playing, so I guess the embossing powder is not going to happen. It was Tanya once, the first time that showed me this, and she said it's like magic, and it truly is. Embossing is just unreal. How it just sets it off as you heat it up and melts that powder, and it just makes this pop. And it's the white embossing powdered on the vellum that really helps set it off. Okay. Make sure I've got it all good. There was a little section there. All right, that's good. So I don't know if you can see my hand. I've got yellow. I was carrying the crushed re-inkers in here, crushed curry, and I ended up with that. So I'm just going to set this off to the side and let it cool down because I'm going to actually color from the back side, and I don't want to push that in the embossed image down. I want it to stay raised. So we're going to let that one sit off to the side now, and we are going to shift over to the other one. The other card is the whitewash technique, and it is a beautiful technique, and it's really, it's easy. It's a painting technique, and it uses the Stampin' Ink white stamp craft ink. I don't like the craft pad. I have never liked the craft pad. I have tried it like 3 or 4 times, and I don't like it. So I'm going to use just the re-inker, and you'll be amazed at how well it works. So I'm going to take 3 images. This is the one that was from the Lighting the Way. And I'm going to take the Desert Details, this one, and this one. And I'm going to do a monochromatic background. And I'm going to fill it in. So I'm going to just start using Evening Evergreen ink and Evening Evergreen cardstock. Good morning, Arla. Nice to have you with us today. So I'm going to go on ahead, and I had re-inked these pretty good last week because you want to make sure you see your image. So I'm just going to put one here. And then I like to, instead of just spotty stamping, I would rather be a little more precise and fill in the spot as I go so I don't have a big hole somewhere. So let's do this. Okay, and then I'm going to come back and put another one again. I'm just going to work my way down the page, down the piece of paper. Okay, I jumped to the bottom because I wanted this here. And I'm trying not to overlap images or anything like that. Good morning. How are you, Jamie? Okay, and I'm just going to keep filling it in. And one more, and I should be good enough to go. Okay, so that's my background of my card. Now I have a circle in that same, oh, it's already one there, stamped. I have my circle that I want to really focus on, and so I'm going to stamp my image there. Okay, and that's all we're going to need of that ink right now. I'm going to close my ink up. I'm going to put this off to the side, and now we're going to do our technique. So we're going to start with craft ink, and I don't like the white ink pad. I have tried it. I think I have at least bought it twice, if not 3 times. I don't have any luck with it. I don't like the look of it. It is opaque looking, like skim milk that has been dropped. It's really easy to over ink your images and have shadows of all of the, like this, where I have the ink out here, you would get the shadow on there like this. I just don't like it, but I do like the refill, and you can buy the refill by itself. So I'm going to just give myself a dab of re-inker. You don't have to have a lot, and it is a very thick, for being so thin on the stamps, it is really, really thick coming out. And I used to be a painter. I did a lot of painting over the years, and so I like this for that reason alone. It kind of brings in my painting a little bit as I go. So I'm going to take my blender pen, and I'm going to just work a little of this into the tip of the blender pen. It is a clean one. And I will tell you that it's easy to over, just like any kid when they first get paint, they just scoop it all up on the brush. And then they're like, well, I got a mess. You don't want that. You want just a small amount. Truly, you want to work it in layers. I'm going to work with one petal. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to just ink it in here and brush it in. But if you will notice, I'm kind of leaving the outside edge of the stamped image. I don't want all of that to disappear. It is the ink that shows the definition to all of these petals. So I'm just going to work a couple at a time. The first time I did it at Stamp and Sip, they were pretty quiet, and I thought, well, they don't like it. And one of the gals who is an art teacher, she's like, oh, this is so relaxing. And I had mentioned it at technique class last week. They were all quiet, and I'm like, so they may not like it. Because actually there have been a couple of things that they're like, yeah. And then when they get done, they're like, yeah, it's not so bad. But at first, and John and I said, oh, you girls don't like, maybe you don't like this. And they're like, no, we like it. It's very relaxing. And if you were enjoying it, they're quiet. If they're not, Jonna said they're talking, because then they don't have to, they can avoid the work. Just like a kid at school. All right, I'm only putting it on 1 or 2 petals at a time. Don't go over there and do the whole thing. And then I'm going to let it dry, because as it dries, it will be more opaque looking. Okay? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to draw one in. But do you notice that I left that tip up there of that dark ink so that it shows the distinction between them? It's much easier to use than a paintbrush, because the bristles don't move on you. It's just like a pen tip. It's not one that you're going to want to make a lot of cards on, but if you had somebody that you wanted a special card, or you wanted to try something just different, this would be one. For Christmas, if you were doing 95 cards, heck no. We need fast on those, okay? All right, so you got the idea how I'm going. I'm just going to keep going, but can you tell now that it is drying and it's lighter? I can go back and I can add more. It's better to add a small amount than it is to over, and then you have too much. In fact, that was quite a bit. I can go back and I can only put the paint or the craft ink where I want it to be darker, kind of thin it down a little, give that tip a little more of a highlight. It's one of those you just play. Once they got started on it, they didn't have any problems. It is a very easy method to learn. Just kind of put some more streaks in there, and that streak kind of gives us more color definition in the petals. So here I go again. Again, if you're just coming in, the key to this is to leave the edge of the line of the ink petal. You know, as a kid, we would color right up to the outline, and this one you kind of want to leave a little of the outline visible. Jamie, how are you doing? We missed you last week. We're hoping you can join us again in April, you and Annie. We had a busy weekend with the retreat. It was a good weekend. I enjoyed it, but come Saturday night, I could barely move. I was like in my recliner, and Jim, gosh love him, went and got me ibuprofen. He loaded me up with ibuprofen. Okay? So I'm just going to keep going here a little more. Now, as a blender pen, it is probably a little harder on your blender pen because it will dry. It was a fun day, wasn't it? I am so glad we had a good day. We had good weather. We had good friends. We had good fellowship. We had good projects. It was really nice. Good food. Jim and his food. Okay. I know that I could also put the craft ink on a block. I will put my re-inkers on a block, but I don't like the craft ink on the block. It's thicker, and all of these little smudges that I'm making out here, all of that dries fast, and it will, oh good, we're glad you're going to be with us then in April. It dries fast enough that it leaves a film on my block. So I would not do it on a block. I would take the craft ink and put it on a paper plate, or I just went and cut the package of the blender brushes down so I could have a piece. I didn't have anything in the recycling I could use. Okay. So it was mentioned to us a couple of times, it would be fun to have a retreat later on, like in August or in September, and take a Christmas stamp set and make like a Christmas card, just like 10 of them. Do the same thing as what we did here, so you could play with and see all the different possibilities. That's an idea. Okay. So it looks like it's wet, but it's not. It dries relatively fast. There's a little bit of wet spot there because that was the thicker one. That one I had just done and it's already dry. That one was already dry. So it dries really quick. And then to go back to highlight, just take a little bit of that white and just come along here and just keep it at the tip. Better to start light and build layers than it is to overdo. So I can come back in. So when I am done, I will take my blender brush. I'm not going to immerse it in water, but I am going to swirl that and really rub through some water, and then mat it on my paper towel, because I really don't want that ink to harden the tip. I have, the first time I did it, I didn't think about that, and I have a lot of ruined half blended brushes. Okay, so you got the idea? It's not hard. But the main key is to leave some of that ink to show in between, so it shows where the distinction of the petals are. I'm going to go just a little more. I don't know that you want to watch the whole thing, but it is relaxing though. So Tina, do you have the craft ink? And if so, you were a demonstrator longer than me. How much did you use craft ink? Pam every once in a blue moon will pull it out, but I don't know that Pam is that sold on it either. Okay. Well, gosh darn it, we're this close. We're just going to keep going. So, if you're late or coming in here and you are a retreat person that is getting it virtual, I will tell you that I had planned to get your boxes in the mail Friday, and I ran out completely of time with everything going on. And they're going in the mail this morning. As soon as I'm done here, they're already taped up and I'm heading to the post office. But I will tell you that we are probably to the advantage that they are late going, because, you know, nothing ever goes perfect. And we were setting up Friday night and I had bags specifically for cards 1 through 5 and bags for 6 through 10. But I put the 1 through 5 cards in the bag for 6 through 10. And I have the 6 through 10 bag cards in the bag for the 1 through 5. And it was really confusing at first. You didn't use it? So I went through yesterday and I've got those all fixed. And so now you're going to get the box right versus the way that I had them originally. And I will tell you, the boxes look awesome. My friend Lynn from Jeff City came, and she is a packing fool. She is really good at it. And I showed her all the stuff, and I said, I want it to go in this paper pumpkin box. And she kind of looked at me like, you have got to be kidding me. And she got it in, and it is organized, and when you open it, it looks great. And it's perfect. And I had to put them back. And she's like, did you remember to change those cards in those boxes? Yes. And I took a picture so that she knew that they were right. All right, we're not going to be too far from finishing this up. So you got the idea. Main thing is to make sure you have an ink that is dark enough and re-inked enough that it gives you the definition of where you're going with all of the petals. I also like a dark image, a dark paper, because, and I'm just kind of playing there because I can't tell what that is. I like it on the dark paper. I really think it makes that whitewash pop against that paper. But I will show you one that is on, this was on Evening Evergreen, and the other one that I'm going to show you is on Soft Succulent. And I come in and I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to show you how I did the inside, the center of the flower, because there's no definition to that. Okay. Okay, so there's my image. You want any more on this? Oh, it would be beautiful in Night of Navy. Yes, it would, or Starry Sky, or any of those. Again, you want it to be a little more distinct on the tip. Just come back and put a little more ink on the tip And just kind of let it dry and see what you get. I'm just kind of feathering it down. Truly, it's easy to do. And it's fun. All right, so now how did I do the center? Well, I couldn't decide because I couldn't see a definite pattern to the center in terms of, too much that time, of if you like succulents, you know that succulents have tips that are a lot of times different color. So I was like, how am I going to do that? So all I did was I took, so there's the original one. I just took my pen and I just dumped. So I'm just going to go tip, tip, tip. Kind of like highlighting the seed heads in the middle of a sunflower. The whites against the black. And just keep going until you get the coloring you want it to be. Add a little more. Can't you see that on the inside of an old-fashioned rose too? You guys, it's hard to put this down because it's just easy to play and fun. Okay. All right, that's it. I'm going to stop. I'm not finished, but no, I'm not. I'm going to finish it. What the heck? We're friends. You guys don't mind me taking a little more time. And I think somebody have a catalog. If you will go to where the Memento ink is in your catalog, you will see the white craft ink, and you can buy it two ways. You can buy the ink pad, and the ink pad, more times than not, I don't think they don't put the ink into it. So I don't know if it dries fast in the ink pad, and they don't want it sitting on the stock like that. If it hardens, I don't know. Or you can buy just the and the ink pad comes with a refill. The refill is included with the ink pad as a bundle kind of thing. And then you also can just buy the re-inker, which personally, that's what I would recommend. All right. Okay. All right, we're going to stop. Look at that. That's it, guys. And to clean it, I'm going to take some water. And I'm just going to go and put it in the water and just kind of clean it this way, swirling it in the water. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to wipe it off on my paper towel and hope that I got it out so that it doesn't get hard to use. So there it is. That's the first one. There's my card. The card is easy. I simply took the Evening Evergreen mat and put it on top of a soft succulent mat. Then I took a strip of soft succulent and went across it like so. Put your ribbon. And I did put my ribbon low so that I could get my greeting above it and still get it all on one. Put that on your card. Take this, and to really pop it, put it on top of a soft succulent scallop and set that on there. Like so. I did it with dimensionals. And there it is. So, hope you like that one. Yeah, look at that. $4.50 for the refill. John even put the number in, 101780. The blender pins are a package of 3. I think it's $12 or $14. They're probably on the same page too. A very economical thing because you get 2 tips. You can use one and just kind of mark it, or you'll know. Mine's kind of got a little white opaque when I pulled it out and rubbed it on my finger. Give me a second and I will go get the soft succulent one. So that was one we did with Samp and Sip last year when I taught the technique to them. And it's on the soft succulent, same ink, same blender pen, just looks a little different. Here it is on the darker image. So, you know, however you want to do. The succulent really is pretty. You want it to be something that has an open image so that you definitely can go in and fill in the blanks like you're coloring, fill in the petals, versus a 2-step where you have more ink inside it and it's harder to work with. All right, so we're going to get rid of this. Now we're coming back here and we're going to play with this. And this is our vellum. And our vellum, I'm going to actually move that so that you and I both can see better. I don't know if you realized it, but I flipped it over. Because as we do this one, we are going to use not the top. We're going to use the back side. That's why I let it air dry, because I wanted it to be good. And it's kind of warped a little from the heat. I wanted it to be good and dry before I started pressing down, and then I had white smudgy stuff. So I'm going to take some dark ink to do this. And this is what my card will look like, by the way. Here is the stained glass technique. I'm going to take brighter colors. Petal pink will not look good on here. It's going to be so white and light. It's not going to show, not going to be showy. I think you like the brighter colors for this. I think it makes the whole thing pop. And the other thing is, the other key is the white matte under the pink. The white matte that goes under the vellum makes that color pop more too. Okay? So I'm going to take Melon Mambo, and I'm just going to take one of my blocks, or take a plastic little plate or something like that. And I'm going to put my colors out here that I'm going to use. I use Granny Apple Green, Melon Mambo, Crushed Curry that leaked on me. I hope that comes out. It leaked on my shirt too. It's like crumb bum. But it came out. I already rinsed it out. So always, people used to say they would crack. Don't get them too tight, they would crack. I have never cracked one. And the only time I've ever had it leak was this time. So, okay, that is Garden Green. So here's my colors. Again, Melon Mambo, Crushed Curry, Granny Apple Green, and Garden Green. And I'm going to take my pen, and I'm going to start with the lighter color for now. I started last time, I think, with the pink with the Stamp and Sip girls, and I'm like, whoa, I couldn't get that pink out. So I'm going to start with the yellow. If you don't know how to clean your pen, you just keep brushing it over and over on a piece of paper until it comes out dry. I'm trying to get in the video here. So I'm just going to come in, and again, I'm just taking a little. I'm not going in and doing a lot. And I'm just going to go in and do these little flowers here. The nice thing about this is that even if you can get, I don't know, purposely, can you see that I got on the white embossing line? It's fine, because from the back side, it'll be fine. You just don't want to get something out here because it's going to be visible. Okay? So I'm just kind of filling it in. Again, let it air dry a little. It does take a little longer to dry. And there are a few places where it doesn't have a closed image. Like when I say closed, it doesn't completely outline, like here on the flower. It doesn't completely outline. It has an open spot. So you just kind of have to figure out where you think that the petal would end. Okay. So there I go. I'm going to go on ahead and fill in there. All right. To clean it, I just keep going round and round until I get most of that ink out. It will stain the tip of your brush. That's just the pigment of the ink. Just keep working it around and around, and it does take a little time. The more ink you put in it, the brighter the ink, the more color will be in the brush, and you just have to keep working. But you can see it's lightening up as I go. Now you have a package of brushes. It comes with 3 brushes. So you could actually, if you did this a lot, you could have one that's a yellow tip, one that's a pinkish red tip, one that's a green, one blue, one brown. I don't do that. I don't do these very often. You can also use it for watercolor. That, in fact, I think that was what the first things were. People used them for watercolor. And it took your watercolor brushes and it cleaned them up really well. I'm going to take the Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going to go on in here and start putting in my leaves. There's nothing fast about these. They're not hard, but you can't just slap it on there fast. Just simply because it takes a little time to dry it. Takes a little time to build up the intensity of the ink. You want it to be brighter and more intense, you go back and put more layer on. Okay. And I can see where I just got out of line there. A little more. The other thing is, with the vellum, it will have to sit. You cannot finish your card off for a little bit because on vellum, ink lays there a little bit longer, and it takes a little longer to dry, or you will smudge it. So, like the crushed curry is still somewhat damp. All right, I'm going to intensify it with a little more Granny Apple. I don't use a lot of vellum. It's relatively cheap. One package will last you a long time. I'm more apt to use it on punching something and putting a layer of vellum underneath a punch. I know Pam has stamped on vellum before. She does that quite often. Blender pens. See, three for $12. Hello there. 2 tips. So you got 6 tips of blender pens. All right, now let's go on ahead, and I'm not going to take out all my green. I'm just going to take out some of that. That's so bright. And I'm going to go on ahead and use some of the darker green. And I'm just going to come back in here and just kind of work some in place, like along the vein, along the base. A little bit more, and we'll go to the pink. And we're not too far from doing this. Too far from having everything done here. So when you take it, it doesn't look like much, but when you put something white underneath it, look how it pops the color. And then you really get the 2 shades of the green. Okay. I may even switch out to my white blender section if I can't get this clean for a little bit. You can take your ink, and if you don't want to put it on a block, like if you're just using one ink, take a drop of your ink and put it on the inside lid, inside of your ink pad, right here. Okay. Another time I could just take, if I didn't even want to take a lot of ink, I would just take a little dab from the corner and do it that way. If you were doing a, and you ought to try this one. This is really fun. Take an image, say stamp it like an open leaf pattern or an acorn. Stamp it in early espresso. And don't even use ink. Simply use a clean brush tip. And while you have put that ink down, it will pick up just enough of the ink to smudge and give a little bit of definition and shading to the inside of that image. You ought to try that sometime, because it's like, oh, I didn't have to do anything other than just take a clean pen and it moved that ink. All right, so I'm going to take the Melon Mambo and try to keep my fingers out of these ink spots and come in here and put in my Melon Mambo ink. It will give you a little more, you'll get a little more brush stroke, kind of like a paint brush. It's not as smooth, but it just gives more definition. Okay, I'll let that dry for a minute. I'll just do another one here. And then I will go back and add a little color to the pink, and we'll be done. Okay. Getting a little sloppy. Again, make sure you don't get your ink on the outside of the white, because that will be visible. All right, so let's say I want to intensify down here and put more ink. I'm just going to come down into each of the petals and draw some veins up from the center of the flower, like some variegated color coming up through it. So yes, I have paint background, but you don't have to have paint backgrounds to do this. Anybody can do this stuff. We did a lot of tool painting over the years, lots and lots of craft shows, and lots of, I taught paint classes. See, I can't sit still, guys. Okay. So, when you go here, you can see that I have put more color in the middle of this, and it's brighter in the center than it is over here. Of course, I laid that on the envelope. Hey, that's not bad. Okay, so to clean this, and this is a doozy. That pink takes forever. I think I had half a page of this stuff almost last time. Just take your ink and rub it off with a paper towel and wash your block, and your block is good to go. It will not stain the block. Okay, I'll work on that some more later, but there it is. We used one tip and we did the whitewash technique. Where did I put my little thingy? Here it is. Nope. Well, gosh darn it. I lost my whitewash. It's around here somewhere. There's the original one. So we did that one. And then we did the, oh, here it is. It was on the frame. So this is the one I did this morning. That's your whitewash. There is your vellum. You need to have ink. And then when you put this card together, I will put my bright ink matte of my card base. I went with Granny Apple Green. I went with this. And the other thing you want to be real careful about is put your adhesive not on the vellum. Put your adhesive along on the back, because any adhesive will show. So I'm just gonna, my stamped image was actually bigger than the circle. I knew that, but I told him to just pick a spot. So there it is. And when you lay that on there, there's your stained glass. Isn't that cool? So, so cool. You might let it air dry because you see the pink kind of smudged on me there. If your vellum is cut too big, glue it to this top paper. Take your scissors and just trim it out. Nobody cares if it's simple or straight under there with straight edges. It doesn't matter. You're going to be covering it up. And then you just lay it on the mat and glue it down. Regular adhesive will glue that down. Okay? Okay, guys, there's my technique. Stained glass, whitewash, and we are done. I hope you enjoyed that. Go out and try it. Get a pack of blends. You can do both of them. Think about that. You can do both techniques with some re-inkers, one package of blends, and some vellum, and craft ink. So good, Mary. I'm glad you caught it. I think you were the one that asked about maybe if I could show. If not, there's another gal that had asked if I would show it too. So, okay, gals, that's my Facebook Live. Have a great day. Wish Pool Boy Jim a happy birthday. Today is his birthday. Tomorrow is mine. And I don't know what we're doing. So we're just kind of kicking back. Hi, Michelle. Glad you could be with us. All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.